Good evening, Professor DeLucia in class. The title of my speech is, What is Santeria? A Look at My Culture. Plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Psalms 35:1. Despite what some people believe, Santeria is not devil worship. If you ever recited the above Psalms, then your beliefs might not be too far removed from Santeria. Many people have misconceptions about ways of life that they have no knowledge of. I will use knowledge that has been passed down to me to help the audience gain a better understanding of what Santeria is and what Santeria isn't. It is my hope that this speech would dispel the following misconceptions. That 1, that those who practice Santeria do not believe in God. 2, that the use of some religious emblems in their practices have impure origins. And 3, and what the media portrays is not how things actually are. Santeria is a genuine way of life that should be respected as such. When people who are unfamiliar with Santeria hear the name, they generally think of voodoo dolls, devil worship, etc. Many people have gotten their concepts about Santeria and other African traditions from the media. The media, through movies, news, etc., tends to paint all non-traditional Christian practices as evil and satanic. Nothing could be further from the truth. My origins make educating people about my culture an important goal. It is vital to undo some of the misconceptions that surround what is today known as Santeria. By the end of this speech, I will dispel some of the misconceptions that people have about some of the beliefs and practices of the way of life commonly known as Santeria. I will elaborate on some of the most commonly held misconceptions about my culture. First, is Santeria, or those who practice Santeria, do not believe in God. Just as with other religions or ways of life, those who practice Santeria have a strong belief in God. According to religiousTolerance.org, God is referred to as Olorun or Olodumare, the owner of heaven. He is the supreme deity, the creator of the universe and of the lesser guardians called Orishas. Tributes and offerings are offered to these deities for their continued guidance. I would go as far as likening a Santerian ritual to an old-fashioned church service. The drums start beating and the spirit inhabits people and makes them sway and dance. What is now referred to as Santeria has Roman Catholic undertones. To avoid persecution, West African slaves used Catholic saints to personify the lesser guardians called Orishas. Each of the latter has an associated Christian saint, a principle, important number, color, food, dance, posture, and emblem. The Orishas need food in the form of animal sacrifices and prepared dishes, as well as human praise, in order to remain effective. Those who practice Santeria not only believe in worshiping Olodumare, but offering gifts to his angels for whatever duty they are charged with performing. Not only does Santeria believe in God, but some of its misunderstood emblems and practices have very pure origins. Behind me is a candle, and on this candle is a picture of the Virgin de Guadalupe, or the Virgin of Guadalupe. She is the emblem of Oshun in the Santerian tradition. This is how they use a Catholic image to personify. Now, some of the emblems that Santeria uses are somewhat scary to people. Now, Santeria involves certain practices and emblems that many people have been taught to fear. One such emblem is the bone of a chicken, because most people are used to seeing so-called witch doctors with bones around their necks. They automatically associate the bones and the witch doctors themselves with something evil. Practitioners of Santeria hold the chicken as a sacred animal whose blood, bones, etc. have spiritual uses. ReligiousTolerance.org states that chickens are the most common animal used. Their sacrifice is believed to please the saints and to bring good luck, purifications, and forgiveness of sins. ReligiousTolerance.org. From my personal experiences, I know that these bones are meant to ward off evil spirits and protect the person or home from molestation or possession by negative energies. Another useful tool for this is salt. Another source of frequent misconceptions is Santeria's use of dolls. The use of dolls is a widely misunderstood part of West African religious inspiration. According to Eileen M. Condon in her article, Spirit Dolls, Munaquitas in New York, Puerto Rican Homes, Engaging with Saints and Ancestors, one of the most interesting aspects of understanding the meanings of Munaquitas came through exploring the stories I had heard group members share about spirits communicating through the dolls. The doll owners frequently describe how dolls and other objects could be prepared to protect oneself, one's home, or family. As explained to me, these dolls were originally used as prayer dolls. The dolls were made in the image of family members and friends and used to pray for the represented person. Just as with the chicken bones, Hollywood's portrayal of so-called voodoo dolls places a negative stigma on the culture that I call my own. The final misconception is the way that Hollywood portrays Santeria in the media. The way that Hollywood in the media portrays most non-traditional Christian practices goes a long way towards creating the stigma that is associated with them. Many traditions borrow from this so-called pagan tradition, though the concepts have been adopted as their own. Hollywood and the media don't take into account that these are actual ways of life that people actually practice when they portray these as evil. The portrayal in The Devil's Advocate of the Santeria causing the prosecutor to choke is an example of Hollywood adding to the stigma that Santeria is an evil way of life. The so-called witch doctors with their necklaces of bones as portrayed by Hollywood are made to look menacing. The dolls and the devil-worshipping concept are also some things that are often overplayed by the media and Hollywood. An article entitled Hollywood Voodoo agrees that Hollywood portrays only what they think these religions are based on, not their actual practices. The article states, what you don't see in the depiction of Hollywood voodoo is anything resembling actual religious practice. The Christian elements of voodoo are almost never shown, and the animistic elements are heavily stereotyped. And they came from Outskirts Press. Though Santeria and other African religions don't give precedence to one main scriptural text, all of their influences can be witnesses in Santeria's practice. If Hollywood and the media will only do their research, a lot more people will overcome the negative stigma that has been placed on my culture. In concluding this speech, it is my hope that the audience has not only been informed about common misconceptions about Santeria, but intrigued to the point that they want to look deeper into this misunderstood way of life. As I already stated, Santeria is not devil worship. On the contrary, we believe not only in giving praise to God, but honor to his lesser guardians or angels as well. As you see behind me is a makeshift shrine, and it has offerings that I give to those who came before me for their guidance. The bones that are used to identify so-called witch doctors are really used to keep them from being influenced by evil or negative energies. The dolls that are seen as harmful were originally intended to be helpful. Instead of being used to hurt people, they were really intended to be used to facilitate their healing. Hollywood and the media's portrayal of non-traditional Christian religions creates a stigma around these genuine ways of life. Don't believe everything that you see and or read. Have the courage to explore these things for yourself. You might be surprised when you see that we have a lot more commonalities than differences. Santeria is a genuine way of life. Research it for yourselves. Thank you.